Welcome to this episode of Business Matters. I'm Tim Kilduff of the Hopkinton Chamber of Commerce and your host for this series, which brings you the stories and passion of the local business people who have invested their lives in our community. Joining me today is Jill Tansey, the owner of The Dentist at Hopkinton. Hi, Jill.
Hi.
In the spirit of full disclosure, I think I have to admit that I'm a patient.
Okay.
So let's get that off the table right away. And a fan, I might add. But what we try to do in this series is to sort of get a sense of why people do what they do, you know, how they got there. And then ultimately, we'd like to know why you ended up settling in Hopkinton, but that's sort of later on in a few minutes. So why don't you just give us a little background?
Okay.
When did you first decide you wanted to be a dentist?
Well, I decided I wanted to be a dentist in college. I was a biology major and I did some medical research, and I talked to different professors and people in my community and thought I would be best suited towards a job with my hands in the medical field. So it left me a few options: surgeon, dentist, researcher. So I pursued those avenues all at the same time and decided I didn't really want to be a medical surgeon and a mom. That'd be really tough. And I didn't want to spend my time in the lab because it's a lot of time and hours and it's very slow moving. You don't talk to people. So I did some internships with dentists and really liked it, and that's how I decided. I didn't have any family members that were dentists.
When you enrolled in undergraduate school, what was your major?
Biology.
Biology. Mm-hmm. Talk to us a little bit about what kind of schooling it takes to get to the point of being a dentist.
4 years of undergraduate. You can do any major, but you have to have the prerequisites for dentistry, which are organic chemistry, calculus, physics, multiple science courses. But you could be an econ major and go to dental school as long as you have the prerequisites. And then it's 4 years of dental school.
Undergraduate school where?
University of Rochester.
And then where?
University of Maryland.
University of Maryland. Mm-hmm. And after one does their schoolwork, mm-hmm. then what are the next steps? There's got to be all kinds of tests and regulations and whatever to follow.
There are national boards and there are regional boards and there's live patient exams. So there's numerous tests and you spend a lot of senior year studying for these exams. And you even take an exam sophomore year, part one of the national board. So there's a lot of fill in the circle tests and exams on patients.
How about internships? Is there such a thing?
Yes. There are internships outside the dental school at different clinics, underserved populations, and every school does it differently. But Maryland, there's a lot of low income areas in Baltimore. We did work there and around DC. There's also special patient clinics with maybe like HIV patients, anyone that is having trouble getting to the dentist. They have us rotate through, Alzheimer's units, different people that aren't getting dental care. So that's what Maryland does to focus on these sort of experiences for their students because they're underserved populations.
Well, the dentist at Hopkinton is more than just a dentist's office. It's a business.
Yes.
So how do you pick up that side of what you do?
That's not so easy for most medical professionals. I knew that I wanted my own business. When I started dental school, we had business courses, and a lot of medical and dental schools do not have courses about business, but I took some courses about business. I took accounting in college, and didn't know if I'd be a good business owner, but tried to do some of my own reading. And, dentists will always say, the hardest part about running the business is the business part. It's not seeing the patients.
Yeah. I was wondering about that because my recollection of the dentist when I was really young was a dentist in an office pretty much by him or herself. Mm-hmm. There wasn't a lot of support staff.
Right.
And you came here, mm-hmm. decided you were to set up an operation in Hopkinton, but you had to build
right.
An organization. What are the kind of skill sets that you needed to do that?
Well, obviously you need to be a good dentist or you won't have patients, so you have to be very proactive with your continuing education, but knowing about insurance, knowing about computers, knowing the hiring, firing, I probably didn't have any experience with. That came with time, and just running the business, not too much experience, but not easy to learn, but you just do it as you go. And you can read all you want and take courses, but until you actually do it, you don't really know what it's going to be like. But you can, insurance, read up on those things, and it makes it a little easier. And I tried to pay attention when I was working in other people's offices. That was probably a good thing to do.
You're probably right. Well, tell us about the working in other people's offices, because you just don't come in and set up an office.
Right. So most people, I would say almost every dentist either does a residency after school, which doesn't give you much practice for private practice. And then some people go to private practice, and I went to private practice. I knew that's what I wanted to do. And I paid attention, what was working, what wasn't working. There'd be people working and they weren't really working, and you'd have 4 workers and you only needed 2. And, I just picked up on these things and how the insurance industry worked. And computers are great. A lot of offices that I worked in did not utilize computers fully. And we have computerized medical records, computerized billing. It's really advanced compared to what I came out of school and was used to.
So are there still dentists that are sort of the notepads and keeping notes and
yes.
not really?
Yes.
Wow. What was you have a staff of what size now?
10.
How does that break down?
We have 2 general dentists, and we each work 4 days. We have a periodontist, a gum surgeon, who works approximately 1 day a week. And then we have 3 dental assistants. One is an intern from Blackstone Valley Technical School. And 3 hygienists, a front desk, and also a billing person.
What was your first hire?
My first hire was my mother to do the billing, who was doing OBGYN billing for years. So she actually didn't get paid for a couple of months, and she agreed to it. Next hire. Next hire was a dental assistant.
Dental assistant.
Yes.
Where did the receptionist come in?
Receptionist was actually the dental assistant at first. She would kind of do both. And in the beginning, we were making appointments, and I wasn't in the office. We ran some promotions, and we started booking appointments ahead of time. And so that was the assistant booking the appointments. But my mother and the dental assistant did the front desk, and then that was the next hire, was the front desk. So then we had an assistant, a front desk, the billing person, and then a hygienist after that.
How much of your time during the week do you spend on, let's call it, administrative responsibilities?
Yes. Probably, every morning, a half hour before we start, I do some of that. And then around lunchtime, or if a patient doesn't show up during the day, and then another hour to an hour and a half after work.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have to ask you this because I've always wondered it myself, so I'll ask it now. But how do you maintain your energy level during the day? I mean, the work that you do is intense, it's close up. Mm-hmm. So don't you get tired?
I don't know. I think it's adrenaline, because even when I had children, I still had a lot of energy at work. But when I get home, it's tired.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But at work, I don't know. I think you just get excited and ready to go. And, I guess we all get tired at some point, but there's coffee and,
Let's take the extremes. Mm-hmm. You've already kind of hinted that the most difficult part of the job, or the most challenging, may be the business side. Mm-hmm. So what's the most difficult, and then what's the most rewarding? What do you get the biggest bang out of?
Well, definitely the dentistry. You get the biggest bang out of fixing someone's teeth, because it can be a life-changing experience for them. But The most difficult would be, I think, staffing is really difficult. But definitely have gotten much better at that part.
Well, I think it was, it would be critical because they're face to face with the clients and the customers,
right.
The patients. I would think that would be something you have to spend a fair amount of time on. In terms of the rewarding part, is there something that comes immediately to mind? An example of maybe really, not necessarily dramatic, where you've really been able to help somebody. Can you give us a sort of a case study?
Yeah, there's a lot of instances where, it might be even 1 or 2 bad teeth in the front, and someone goes years and years, they might be afraid of the dentist, and especially in that case, when you fix it and they realize it wasn't so bad and they look 100 times better and they get a job and their whole life has changed, I mean, that's the most rewarding part of dentistry. I think that's how I can help someone the most.
Does your practice include youngsters all the way
Yes.
through?
Yes, and in the beginning, didn't have a lot of experience with kids, but as I've had my own children and more experience with children, I'm enjoying that part a lot more now. I think I was a little afraid of kids at first. I just didn't have a lot of experience. Right. And I think they could sense it. But now I'm very comfortable with children. I even worked on my own son when he was 3. And
3?
Yes, unfortunately.
Wow.
Yes.
And in terms of what you don't do, where does the practice come to the end is not the right way to put this, but I'm sure you use specialists outside. What's the differentiator there? Where does that break? So
when there's a procedure that it might take me longer to do than a specialist, or it's something I'm not trained in, I refer it. So impacted wisdom teeth, biopsies for possible cancerous lesions, very difficult root canals. Those are the sort of things we refer out.
Oh, yeah. You don't do root canals?
I do, but only the easy ones.
Oh, the easy ones. Well, that's sort of a logical place to break. Let's take a second, break for a minute, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more about the operation. And also, I'd like to probe a little bit more about what it takes to set up an office. Okay. And the equipment, and maybe the costs that are related to that. Okay. We'll be right back.
Tune in to HCAM News for complete and up-to-date coverage of Hopkinton.
Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays at 6 p.m. for our latest newscast from the HCAM studios.
From high school sports and governmental coverage to community affairs and culture. If it's Hopkinton, HCAM News keeps you informed.
Between newscasts, visit our website at hcam.tv for late-breaking news and expanded coverage of our top stories.
Tune in to Comcast Channel 8 or Verizon Channel 30. The Hopkinton High School Drama Department, under the direction of Valerie von Rosenving, has been selected to perform at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, the world's largest and most prestigious arts festival, as part of the American High School Theater Festival. Students, parents, and teachers are all heavily involved in fundraising activities to finance the 2-week trip to Scotland and England, which will take place in August of 2011.
We will be one of 45 schools from this country and Canada that will be going. We're off and running for about a year full of fundraising events, hopefully that the community will benefit from as well as us. So, interested in getting information, I think it's www.hhsdrameensemble.com.
From the High School Drama Department, I'm Michelle Murdoch for HCAM News.
Welcome back to Business Matters and our conversation with Jill Tansey, the owner of The Dentist at Hopkinton. Walk into the dentist's office. There's a whole bunch of equipment around. And I'm not talking about, there's the computer part of it, which we should talk about a little bit. But when you start, just one room with the equipment that you need, what needs to go in that room?
Okay, so you need a chair, and the chair is very expensive. You need an x-ray head, computer. Those are the big expenses, I would say. There's some equipment that's under the shelves and things like that. But I would say the chair and the x-ray head are the main ones to start with. And
does the x-ray header mean the gizmo you need to take the pictures?
Yes.
And then you read them there as well?
We read ours. We have phosphor scanners, and they get scanned into a machine. It takes about 12 seconds, and then that feeds right into the computer system.
So what's that investment, that initial investment? What's roughly?
I'm not sure today, but back when I opened 7 years ago, I believe a chair was about $20,000, $25,000. The whole x-ray system was $30,000. I know the initial investment for my office was probably around $350,000.
$350,000.
That's for everything, though. The build out, all the equipment.
And have you expanded since then? Did you add more?
I added another 2 operatories and another waiting room for children.
So if we were to look at that in totality at this point, what's a fair number? 400?
Probably more. I would say probably 500.
$500,000 to set up a dentist's office that you would describe as what size? Is it
medium?
Medium-sized dentist's office.
Yes.
Yike. Mm-hmm. Well, everything is very different than it used to be, as you know. I'm assuming now that there are changes coming along all the time.
Yes.
How do you keep up with that? Mm-hmm. And how do you plan for it?
So the more difficult thing to plan for, I think, is the computers, because the software keeps advancing rapidly, and then every time they come out with a new update, you almost need another computer. So we try to plan ahead for those things. The dental side is not as bad because, we don't want to jump on new technology right away. We don't want to have our patients as guinea pigs. So, we can plan for that also. We'll watch something for a couple years and see if it's working out. And if it's going to be great for the patients, great for our business, then we jump on that sort of technology. But anything that's, not studied well, we don't want to purchase right away.
What's your biggest frustration in dealing with patients now?
Oh, in patients?
Just in patients, dealing with patients. What's your biggest frustration? Might it be them not flossing?
No, that's really the patient's issue. But my biggest frustration with patients is probably, I guess, when maybe they don't like what we're saying, or usually they can understand it if we break it down into easy terms. They just don't like what we have to say, or the expense of the treatment is not what they would like. That's probably the biggest frustration for me.
I get it. So did your training include psychology courses?
Yes, but not many.
So here's this person that's interested in dentistry, this science background. You have to have some sense of business, so you've got to take business-related courses, mm-hmm. and then maybe there's just like a minor in psychology as well. Pretty well-rounded.
Yeah, but it's still tough. I think it's tough for a lot of people. You need help sometimes. You need someone to fill in that gap that you can't grasp, or you don't have a knack for. So. I try to do it all, but over time I've given some of my responsibilities for, billing to other staff members. It's just too much in one day to have to deal with everything. And then, we'll sit down and talk, and it's a great help to have other people. You can't do it all.
I wanted to go back to the staff for a minute, mm-hmm. and you shared a little bit about your background, mm-hmm. but if somebody's interested in being a dental hygienist, mm-hmm. What's their training entail?
So a lot of hygienists start out as dental assistants, or they work part-time as dental assistants.
All right, what's a dental assistant?
A dental assistant, there's a couple of types. There's certified dental assistants, that have actually gone through I think it's a 1 or 2 year program where all they do is learn about dental assisting. There's also dental assistants that come out of technical schools. And then there's also on-the-job trained dental assistants in Massachusetts that have worked in the field for years, and they were trained on the job, but they still have to go through certification processes. And then you don't have to be a dental assistant, be a dental hygienist, but a lot of them have some training in the office. They'll work as dental assistants to make sure that's what they really want to do. And once someone decides they want to go to dental hygiene school, they apply to a dental hygiene school. They have to take prerequisite courses in sciences, and then they formally can apply and get in. But sometimes there's waiting lists.
What's that? How many years does it take to do it?
2 years.
2 years?
2 years once you finish the prerequisites.
A lot of training.
Yeah, I think
Clearly.
so. Yeah.
Clearly. The staffing issues, we hinted a little bit about that, but that's when you have 9 other people working with you. There's that, yes, psychology, but then there's also the management piece. So there's like a 4th leg to this stool. It's not a 3-legged stool, is it? There's a management part of this that I think when you walk into the dentist's office, you probably, as a patient, you really don't care, but yet it does affect the overall environment in which you get treated, doesn't it?
Right, and just building relationships with people. You don't want to see different people in the office every time you go. I mean, that's not saying much for the business or the management.
Okay, so you have all this training. You first of all decide you want to be a dentist, then you do the schooling, then you have the training, then you begin to put an organization together, but then you have to find a place or an environment or a community in which to work.
Right.
The people that are watching the show are well aware of Hopkinton, the quality of the community and so forth. Why here? Why did you end up here? What's the process you went through, number one? And then what were the factors that were the final determining factors?
Well, the first factor I had to think about was, do I come back to Massachusetts? I was living in Maryland, and then I was living in Philadelphia, working there. And so my husband and I had to decide what was best for our careers and our family that we didn't have yet, but we knew eventually, or we hoped. So I'm from Massachusetts. I came back here, and my husband's in biotech and finance, and this is a really great, Boston's a great town for that. So we decided to come back here, and then we had to pinpoint a location. And oddly enough, in dental school, I did my business plan on Hopkinton. Really? I picked it.
By accident?
I picked it by accident. Not solely by accident. I had to have a reason why I picked it. But the reasons were it was growing. It was near major highways, easily accessible, but it wasn't really necessary for it to be accessible, because most of my patients are from town. There are patients from the surrounding communities, but I think that the growth, the location, the surrounding towns, I think back in school that was attractive, and also the ratio of dentists to people living here. So that's why I picked it back in school. But when I came back here, I was actually looking at Westboro and Grafton on the advice of some dental suppliers. And I just kind of worked my way east a little bit.
Now, why would somebody drive you toward, why did they drive you towards, did you say Upton was one of them?
No, Westboro and Grafton.
And Grafton. Growth, probably, just population growth?
Growth, I hate to think back on this, maybe that was his sales territory, but it was just, it was neat how it ended up being. I used my business plan from dental school, and it was the same exact town. I drove east one day. I was frustrated. I was trying to negotiate a lease in Westboro, and it didn't work out. And then I found the building that I opened my practice in. I met the owners, and I liked the building a lot, and I liked the town, and I was all ready to go. It was 2 months to build my office, and happened really quickly.
Wow. Have you seen more dentists gravitate to this area since you've been here?
Not really.
You scared them away.
I did. No. But there are more dentists in town because we've hired an associate. Yeah, so there's definitely more.
Location? Location, location, location was clearly one. Maybe luck of the draw in the sense that you studied Hopkinton before you in school. Did you look at the sort of the economic dynamics in the community? Was that important?
I think the owners of my building sold me on that. I didn't really. I did look at it in school, but it had been a few years. So the owner of my building said, you know, this is a great town. You know, we need dentists. There's not that many dentists here. You know, the EMC's here. There's a lot of you know, wealthy people in town too. It's a good town, good schools, open here.
Any regrets? Any regrets?
No, none.
Well, you know, I have to tell you that I think from the community's perspective, from the sort of the general sense, my general sense is that we're glad that you're here. The decision-making process that you went through was a solid one, a thorough one, and quite frankly, you're a value add to the community. So thanks for choosing Hopkinton, and thanks for taking a few minutes to chat a little bit about your passion and your business and really what makes your days exciting. Thank you.
Great, thank you.